Happy Thanksgiving. Troy this week. This is a really good offensive football team. Senior quarterback. I think this is probably the best quarterback in the league. If I had to vote for all conference today, I'd probably vote for him. But he's put up lots of great numbers. He's had a great career. They've got good skill guys to get him to get the ball to. They've proven it week in and week out they can score points. So maybe a style of play we have fit to plenty of times this year at least. So some familiarity with no huddle spread offenses after the first 5 or 6 games in which we played them kind of week in and week out there for a while. So hopefully that will. I know it's helped in our preparation because we're going back and recall of things we did a few weeks ago. So that's been good. Big game for them. I know they're trying to get to number 6. So that doesn't make it any easier. Open week for them. Play on Friday for us. Hectic week. So make your questions short and brief because I got lots to do. But it is hectic with everything going on this week. But it's great to be playing and coaching over Thanksgiving with things on the line, and we look at kind of as a one-game playoff, and I'm sure they do too. Both of us need to find a way to win and let the chips fall where they might.
Tyler Jones practiced fully yesterday. What was the future look like Friday?
I really don't know yet. He did some things in practice. He didn't throw much yesterday, but he did some things in practice.
How does Troy differ in what they do out of this practice compared to, say, some of the teams he faces this year?
They're different than Wyoming, who was a little more committed to. I shouldn't say committed, but I ran the ball a little more. They're probably more like a Texas Tech, Southern Miss. Probably a little more like those kind of teams. Right Tech is the closest one I'd say. They do throw the ball down the field pretty well, though. That's one thing the quarterback does nice is throw a great deep ball, and they're going to take some shots in the game, and you got to hope you can withstand it.
Coach, you say there's a one-game playoff because you think you need one more to get into a bowl, or why do you say it's a one-game playoff?
I don't know if a 6-6. I'm sure Coach Blakeney's telling his players 6-6 will get him in a bowl, but I don't know if that's. I'm not willing to sit here and think that 6-6 is going to do it, because when you look at the spots and the things available out there, there's probably going to be more teams maybe available than 6-6 will take care of. So I think it's best that we look at it that we need to win a 7th game right now, and to look at it is that way. Let me comment on Larry too. We're facing a great coach. Larry Blakeney's done a marvelous job with Troy. He's taken that program from Division II all the way up, and I only know 2 coaches in football history that have the field named after them. They're still coaching on it, so pretty special. And Larry's a good guy, great coach, and somebody I really admire a lot in his profession. I think that needed to be said. So thank you.
There are multiple outlets, though, projecting 14 that was sent out. Obviously, a lot there. You got Arkansas State, Western Kentucky, and Troy's boxes. I get your 12, but there you guys stand 6-5. Having already reached the eligibility, this is a big win this year. Do you think it's a slight against your team that they're already projecting Troy to beat you guys to reach eligibility and to go ahead of you guys?
Honestly, Tyler, I don't put any stock in those projections. The only one I liked is it said we were in the Ticket City Bowl once, somebody told me. But I like that one. But I don't even look at those because Larry has a conference call week in, week out with the conference commissioner. I don't spend much time talking with Larry about it. In passing, obviously we do. So that's what I go by now, and to me that's probably the most accurate. I think it's fun for the various websites to have the projections and things, but just think that's the wiser way to look at that. Focus on playing the game. I don't think about slides or anything like that.
Teams struggled against these last two power running teams. I need to match them better this kind of choice style.
You'd think so. I think we've learned a lot about this conference and the strength and power running teams of the conference. It's a little different than what we've gone through, especially the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season where we faced so many spread, no huddle teams, and then to change gears. I think we've learned some things we need to change and to look to do in the future as a defense. And yes, I'd like to say we match up better, but this is a really, really good spread offense team. This is probably every bit as good as Tech when we played them. So I think we'd be foolish to think we're going to stone them. They're going to make yards. We're going to play good in red zone. We're going to get some takeaways and try to get them off rhythm a little bit, which we've done in some games.
You said that you named Corey Robinson choice quarterback as quarterback in the conference. You've seen every other quarterback in this field as a call. Do you go by his lifetime achievements? You know, how he set the team or some of records, like a legacy award, or is this truly what he's done this year? What has he done this year for you to give him that award?
Well, I just go on this year. I mean, I know he's got tons of career records for 4 years, but I think the award's based on this year's performance. And as I look at what he has done for his team this year, and think about, okay, which quarterback do I now want to face again? I think it's him. Not to, Terrence Broadway certainly a really fine quarterback, and I have a lot of admiration for the young man from South Alabama, and Colton Browning probably hasn't had quite the year that we all thought he was going to have, and we didn't play against him. So, you know, just from my standpoint, his accomplishments merit him in my vote, probably thinking he would be the first team all-conference quarterback.
Let's talk about the toughness of your team. You should talk about how you have improved the team to be ready for this final stretch. I felt like y'all overwhelmed on this last year. It kind of seems like y'all falling back into that same situation how you've overwhelmed here the last 2 years.
We have been outplayed, outcoached, and out-physicaled, I think, in the last couple games. You know, we held up good for 3 quarters defensively. I mean, if you go back, a large portion of their rushing yards came in the 4th quarter. Now, hey, it's like I told the defense, we still play 4, so that counts. But the point there is when you struggle like we did offensively, turning the ball over, and you keep putting your defense back out on the field, and they answer the bell, they answer the bell, they answer the bell, and they get asked to keep answering the bell, it wears on you. And by the 4th quarter, we were wore out and wore down, and had answered the bell about as many times as you could ask a team to do it. So I do think there's some, you know, some things you need to think about when you make that kind of statement. But I agree with your statement that, you know, let's look at the teams we've had trouble with in this league. They're the perennial teams that have been in this league that have presented a little bit more physical side of play. The Lafayette, the Western Kentucky, the Arkansas State. Those guys have, you know, the spread kind of teams, the South Alabamas, the Monroes, we fit on pretty good. The power teams have hurt us, and that's their strength. That's what they do. We're not the only kid on the block that got that handed to us this year. Lafayette's done it week in and week out, and done it to some pretty good football teams. So, but I think your point's well taken, and I think, like I was mentioning when Fletch was asking me a question there, that you know, as you assess, we've learned a lot about the league we're in this year. I mean, gosh, I know 1,000 times more today than I did back in August about this league today. And one of the things I think we know is that we spend a lot of time working spread no huddle teams because we faced a bunch of them early in the year. But even if we're playing Texas Tech, for instance, we might need to spend 10 minutes a day working on power teams, even though we're not going to face them that week. you know, to kind of stay sharp on those kind of things. You know, and really, again, if you go back and look what the defense was asked to do for 3 quarters, they did pretty good. So, yeah, you got to kind of take the whole picture into consideration. We've had our struggles with that.
Kind of piggybacking off his question, last year, you guys lost 4 of the last 5, now you lost 2 in a row here. Do you think this has a lot more to do with, I guess, the toughness, or the fact that the schedule is kind of catching up to you guys? With this year, how you mentioned a lot, that you seem to find ways before they face you, and last year you guys faced Murderers Row at the worst stage, and you guys said,
You know, we're much more suited for it. We're still just in our 2nd year of FBS, but we've stood up better to it. You know, we faced good teams here at the end. We knew that 2 weeks ago when we were on bye week. We knew we were going to face good football teams. And Saturday night got away from us. I don't want to take anything away from Western. They played well and they're a good team, but if our team was at full strength and played more like you know we played, I think it would have been a better game. But you know, when we've got to do what we got to do, so that's kind of what I feel right now.
You look at Georgia State, South Alabama, so close on some of these conference games. You see Georgia Southern going to Florida, upset them. Is it nice knowing that you're going to get another shot at the same teams, the same bunch of teams for the first time in a while?
You talking about next year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Gosh. Yeah. I mean, it's not fun to. I mean, it's fun, but it's not the best way to have to go through almost a clean slate every year. I mean, like I said, we all as a staff and players know a lot more about this league and have not that we didn't have a lot of respect for this league going into it, but I think playing in this league now, you see the kind of athletes that this league has, and you know, Lafayette almost beat Florida last year too. South Louisiana, Monroe beat Arkansas. So this league's not far away from being a pretty darn competitive week in, week out league with some of those teams. So we, you know, yeah, we'll look forward to being in the same league for 2 years in a row. No doubt about that.
After Lafayette game, you said it wasn't really representative of kind of what your team really is. The last 2 games, it was more like Lafayette or more like September, as far as that goes.
More like Lafayette, or more like September.
Well, you said after Lafayette game, you told the guys just play like everybody else did.
I'd say, okay, I see what you mean. Well, Lafayette, I think our emotions got caught up in our success and we didn't handle it real well against Lafayette. You know, there's some comparisons to the last 2 with Lafayette because they're the best team in the league, it looks like right now. But our team played hard, was ready to play and played hard. It just seemed like every step we put forward was bad the other night, getting off to the start that we did. And it was just gut-wrenching for the kids to go through and everything. So I don't put any similarity to Lafayette and what happened.
You know, you don't say that they're credit to rock to listen to
No turnovers. They're the ones that had all the turnovers.
Patient, you know, you guys get turnovers in the school. The first quarter, they just kind of find their way to do what they do. And you just sit down and get your chances.
That's a good statement. Is there a question in there? Yeah, you're right, Steve. No, I do. I do. You know, and when you turn the ball over, you got such miserable field position the entire game. They have good field position the entire game. I mean, it's just, you know, I've done this for almost 40 years. Some days are just not good, and I accept responsibility for it. Don't get me wrong, but it just things didn't go very well for us. Try as hard as they may, and as well prepared as the kids were to play, they got down. You know, I think it's 17-7. We drive down, start the 3rd quarter, miss a field goal, which would have made it 17-10. with it, I don't think that was the dagger that broke our heart, but it was a tough pill to swallow, because it would have put us back within 7. And then I think the next drive we come down and Tyler overthrew the ball, and we had an interception. We had a little spark of moving the ball then too. So that sequence of events, and then they cashed in right on. It was 17-7 at the end of 3 quarters, and then they scored the first play, I think, of the 4th quarter, and then it was downhill.
Drive, right? We got down to 20, and then a 2-yard pass, and 5-yard loss. What was thinking about that line?
I just try to find something that worked. Yeah, I've had days when I don't have to look at that sheet. I've had days when I can't find anything in that sheet. And Mike and I talked about it. It was not, we didn't block very well. We didn't execute. Our line didn't play very well. Western Kentucky did a great job. They had good athletes. They played well. That's a good football team. They probably lost a game or two. They probably think they shouldn't have. If you go back, they were at, I think they were Lafayette. They had them down 10-0 and about to go in and score, make it 17, and throw a pick that went back 90-some yards for a touchdown. So that's the caliber of team that they were, and we just weren't that kind of caliber yet. I hate to say it, but we're still in the middle of this process, and it's going to have some ups and downs to it. When you get to 6-3, I hope you can find another 1 or 2 in there, but we haven't been able to do that just yet.
You mentioned these last 2 games you've been out physical, outplayed, and outcoached. Obviously, the outcoached hands of you. You're the head coach. How do you turn it around as a coach? How do you go in there and know how to change things around for this Troy game? You've had nothing but respect for him lately. He's also a good coach. So how do you outcoach him? What's the key to your game plan as a leader, as a head coach, to get your team ready for this 7th game?
We just keep grinding, keep looking for ways, and keep motivating our players, and our coaches keep coaching, and do everything we possibly can to put our players in the best position that we can. And that's all. I've been through all the different facets of it, so that's gives you strength that you've been there and done that. You just keep grinding.
How disappointing was it to have to look to the bench at Tyler Jones who has a broken game and to say, can you come in and get the game, try to do something?
I wouldn't say disappointing is the word. We knew that going in that it was possible. It was a little gut wrenching from the standpoint that you're putting in a guy that you know's hurt, and you don't want him to be hurt any worse. I asked him several times, talked to him, but the decision of whether he played or not was not, first off, is not mine. It's the trainers and the doctors, and they advised us that he could play. And so the judgment was, at that point in time, is this what's best for our football team to have a chance? And after the turnovers and things, it was the best thing to turn to at that point in time. And he did give us a spark. He's a pretty darn gutty kid, obviously. But it wasn't a fun decision to make.
And he probably
wish
wanted,
he didn't have to.
sorry, he probably wanted to come in too, right, in that situation when most competitors feel like they can make a difference.
Once he goes that pregame warm up, he didn't come to suit up. He came to play, and that's one of the great things about the young man. It makes you so excited about coaching him. It's not just he's a quarterback and all the other things, but the spirit of toughness that he displayed, the toughness that he conveyed to his team, the tenacity with which he fought. They're all the examples of things that you teach as a coach to players. And anybody that was here Saturday night walked off the field with tremendous admiration for the young man for what he did. He didn't go and save the game or win the game, but you still have to admire a true freshman going in and giving everything like he did.
How long was that walk out to the field after you got drilled by Jackson? For you to know that if he was hurt, if something was bad happened to him.
Oh, you mean when he got hit there?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it wasn't fun. You know, it's never fun for any of your players. I did it last week for Damani Alexi when I was really worried about him. I kind of thought Tyler maybe had the air knocked out of him watching the hit. You know, those are never fun. You don't ever want a player to suffer injury, and especially the one that's playing with one. You know, let me put a little bit of perspective to this. There's probably 20 other guys playing with injuries out there too. Maybe not a broken whatever, but Tyler's not the only one doing this. This time of year, dead men got to walk, and people play like this. And I'm sure on Western Kentucky's team there were several of them too. So, you know, that's the game. That's some people can play with something that, you know, you competed, you ran, you probably saw that happen. Some people can do things that others can't. And how do you explain that? I don't know. But it happens. And as a coach, you know, one of the worst walks I had was at Arkansas State because I was really worried about the money. Fortunately, he was okay, but that looked a little unsettling when I started walking out there, and was for a few minutes when we were all out there. So, but they're never good walks, that's for